Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus again. If you look at me, you can realize that time has passed and I'm moving into those years that we consider, if not on top of the hill, well, should I say, if not over the hill, at least on top of the hill. And what I'm finding out is that people who are older, without a lot of money, having the ability to do basically whatever you want when you want, are having a very difficult time in life. In fact, they're almost being robbed of life. They have no real basic social life. That doesn't mean everybody, but so many of our elderly have no social life. They sit home. If they got a partner, to have someone to talk with or to sit and maybe go for walks with and do some of the normal things that older people do. But as far as the constant travels, the visits, the going out to nightclubs or to social events to engage themselves in a inspirational, involved life that makes life worth looking forward to the next day. But no, and having the ability to have health care available to them to fight away some of these pains and sufferings that they have accumulated through the years. And I find out that a little bit more attention should be given to our elderly. In fact, when you become older, if not at a young age, you should be able to retire from life and its complications. And you at least now should be able to sail on. I'm an advocate of that, sail on. And you and I should spend a little bit more time addressing issues such as this. But we find ourselves visiting all kinds of complications. We think about things that we consider as being definite truths. And we usually say these things because we were taught such. But just because we were taught certain things, it does not indicate that those things must be true. That does not mean that they are necessarily the things that are right, just because we learn them. That's why we as individuals must have a conscience that would guide us along life's merry way. And that is because in so many different places, things are so different. People do things different ways. Communism, socialism, democracy, and capitalism. All of these things represent various systems. And they have different approaches. But the outcome are the same. So we have to have a conscience that would guide us down a path rather than just following something that somebody said or an idea that they had. Not to say that you don't support people in their endeavors if they lined up with what you are about, if they line up with what you care to represent. And what you care to represent usually is determined by things that you've learned. But here again, we're talking about you having the flexibility to change, to grow up, to be your own person, to be responsible for the decisions that you make, as opposed to handing it down to tradition. That's what happens so many times when we have about certain social issues. For instance, I grew up and I was taught that homosexuality and men with men and women with women was an abomination. That these things were wrong in the sight of God. And then they have certain stories in the book that supports such claims. And so you grow up, as I, believing that these things are true. And then you live and you see certain things happening and you ask yourself why. Straight against the odds. And you ask yourself why, and you don't have an answer. So what do you do? What do you do? You have to go inside of yourself to search. And you ask yourself certain questions like, you didn't make yourself. You are who you are. Whether people like it or not, you are who you are. You are different shades of a color than other people. Whether they like it or not, you are what you are. Now, if a person comes here having an attraction for one of the same sex, they didn't make themselves any more than I made myself. And I'm sure that they weren't taught that they must be homosexual, if that's the case. It's a reality with them. And as with them, many others. And they find an association that draws them together to respond the way they respond, without any apology. Why? Because it's real. Whether we like it or not, we have no true reason to judge it. Because as we have grown, we have recognized men and the decisions that they make relative to all various types of situations. One day it's yes, another day it's no. So you can't really count on what man says. And man's ability to tell the truth tells us even today that that's not possible, especially in the United States. So I'm sure it happens around the world. But I say that because in the United States, they teach you that Christopher Columbus discovered America. And if you don't write that on your answer on your test, you're probably gonna, without a doubt, get that one marked wrong. But here again, we're just dealing with things that we have been taught. But for us to make judgments for God, this is what the issue is. Why should I curse you because I don't understand you? I have no more right to curse you than a white man has to curse a black man when he was taught what he was taught about a black man. What we have been taught about homosexuality. They're all the same thing. People not understanding. And so they condemn. And they don't just it would be a different thing if they were condemning because of their love. And their love was a true expression in the life that is available to you to live, because all of the forces that they have control of engages itself to see that this is a reality for every last one of us. Then maybe, just maybe, you can be concerned about others when you think they're off on the wrong track, but that doesn't still give you the authority to inflict pain or suffering or cause such. Because our responsibility is to always love. That's the stuff that we are made of. At least that's the stuff that I'm telling you about. That's the stuff that I know that God is made of. That's the stuff I want to be made of. And that's the stuff I need you to be made of. Because in our being made of the stuff that God is being made of, that God is made of, is heaven. Now, I realize that we have been taught that there are some things that are ungodly. But there are some things that we have been taught that are ungodly that are not ungodly. In other words, you as a child of God can have fun, can enjoy life. Doing what? Doing everything basically that you do today. Basically everything that you do today. God is love, not hate, not killing, not deceiving, not exploiting. God is love. What does that mean? That means basically doing anything you want to do. But remembering, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. That's an individual thing. And then on a collective level, you work together, you cooperate together, your gifts with the gifts and talents of others to create whatever comes up in your mind that's magnificent. And all new things are magnificent when they work well for the people. And the people build them, create them. And the people that desire them, use them. I'm going to leave it there. I want to just speak a little bit on life today. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just say this before I go. Your politicians are good people, but they are not led by the Spirit of God. They are led by the spirit of good people, but not by the Spirit of God. The spirit of good people lacks a lot of love. The spirit of good people lacks a lot of understanding, not God. And you can always tell where God is and where God is being represented, because God speaks for all people. He speaks for men and women, old and young, black and white, straight or gay. God speaks for everyone. And if anyone comes to you talking about anything that profits some and not the other, it is of the devil. What do I mean when I say of the devil? I mean it is a spirit that destroys. It is like a cancer, but it is exercised by men and women, just like you and I. That is the only way it gets a chance to live. Likewise, the peace and prosperity and joy that I speak to you about that comes from God, the only way for it to exist is to be brought about by men and women just like you and I. Remember that. When you see things falling apart, don't start blaming the devil and start blaming the Republicans or the Democrats. Blame yourself. What does it mean? It means that you got work to do and you've been sitting on the job. So get up and get busy. Need I say more? Bye-bye.